Welcome to the Office on Violence Against Women, also referred to as OVW, pre-application information session for the fiscal year 2023 Rural Domestic Violence, Dating Violence, Sexual Assault, and Stalking Program Solicitation. This information session is being presented by OVW Rural team members, myself, Nakora Gray, Charlotte Turpin, and team lead, Aisha Battle. We also have our Associate Director online, Krista Blakeney Mitchell. This call is meant to serve as a source of information regarding the rural application process. It is strongly recommended that you read the full solicitation and have it to reference to for the information session. Next. Pre-application webinar overview. The purpose of the pre-application webinar is to provide applicants with an opportunity to understand the rural program application and submission process. This is also an opportunity for potential applicants to ask questions about the solicitation. Next slide. The grant supported by the rural program funds, as well as about this program. The rural program is authorized by 34 USC 12341. The rural grant program funds and support projects that enhance the safety of rural victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. The program also supports projects that are uniquely and specifically serving rural areas. The rural program recognizes that victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and child abuse who live in rural communities face unique challenges and barriers to receiving assistance rarely encountered in urban areas, including geographic isolation, poor economic structure, strong social and cultural pressures, lack of available services in rural jurisdictions, and lack of anonymity and security when seeking shelter services. These challenges significantly compound problems facing those seeking support to end violence in their lives. They also complicate the criminal justice system's ability to investigate and prosecute cases and create difficulties for victim service providers to identify and assist victims. Sexual assault is also a priority for this program. We will highlight this throughout our webinar. More information about all OVW programs, including the rural program, can be found on the OVW Office on Violence Against Women website. Next slide. So what's new about the rural program? VAWA 2022 added an additional purpose area for our program, and which we will discuss later in this presentation. VAWA 2022 also added language to Strategy 5. And finally, the budget submission for this year are different. We will go into further detail about this information later in the webinar. Next slide. Registration and submission. Application submissions and times are listed on the cover of the rural solicitation and also on page 35. Letter of intent should be submitted by March 27, 2023. Apply for a Universal Entity Identifier, also known as the UEI, by April 3rd, 2023. Make sure your SAM registration is up to date. If your SAM registration isn't up to date, please complete your registration by April 3rd, 2023. Applications are due by 9 p.m. Eastern Time on April 18th, 2023. All applications are submitted through grants.gov and Just Grants. Application submission has 2 date requirements. You must be registered in grants.gov by April 11th to be able to submit your application in Just Grants by April 18th. Only in limited circumstances will OVW approve a request to submit an application after the deadline. Details regarding late submissions are listed on page 35 of the solicitation. More information about important dates and how to apply can be found in the How to Apply section on page 35 and on the cover page of the solicitation. Next slide. The submission process. There is a reason that we set a deadline of April 3rd, 2023 as the process to register for UEI, and SAM is extremely lengthy. If you do not have your UEI number and/or are not current in SAM's system, you should begin this process as soon as possible. For more information on the SAM UEI registration process, see page 34 of the solicitation. Register with grants.gov as soon as possible if you haven't done so already. The registration process is not one that can be completed quickly. It takes time, sometimes days, and you should begin this process as soon as possible. Every year, we have a handful of applicants that didn't make the deadline because they were delinquent with their UEI, SAM, or grants.gov registration. The two-step process for submitting your application are: 1, submission of the SF424 and SFLLL will be submitted in grants.gov. 2, submission of the full application, including the attachments, will be submitted in the Just Grants system, also known as Just Grants. If you need any assistance with grants.gov or Just Grants, please refer to slide 31 in this presentation, where you will find contact information for the grants.gov applicant support hotline and Just Grants support. Applicants experiencing technical issues with Just Grants should contact the OVW Just Grants support line as soon as possible. Applicants should follow the solicitation guidance regarding technical difficulties. This will enable them to submit a full proposal by the deadline using an alternate method if necessary. Next slide. SAM, grants.gov, and Just Grants website visual page. Here is a visual of what each of the 3 sites you will use when submitting your application. Next slide. Rural eligibility, rural program eligibility. In this section, we will discuss the rural purpose areas, rural strategies, OVW priority areas, and funding restrictions. Next slide. The purpose areas. The rural program has 4 purpose areas. I won't read the purpose areas to you verbatim. However, in a nutshell, all projects funded through the rural program must fall under one or more of these purpose areas listed on page 6 through 7 of the solicitation. I will also highlight that this year we have a 4th purpose area. So that's the What's New purpose area. That purpose area reads as, which is number 4, to develop, expand, implement, and improve the quality of sexual assault forensic medical examination of sexual assault nurse examiners program. Next slide. In addition to 4 purpose areas, rural program grantees must implement one or more of the 5 strategies as outlined in the authorizing statute. This information can be found on page 7 of the solicitation. Next slide. New language was added to Strategy 5. Strategy 5 now states the following: developing programs and strategies that focus on the specific needs of victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking who reside in remote, rural, and geographically isolated areas, including addressing the challenges posed by the lack of access to quality sexual assault examinations by trained healthcare providers, shelters and victim services, and limited law enforcement resources and training, and providing training and resources to community health aides involved in the delivery of Indian health service programs. Next slide. OVW priority area. In FY 2023, OVW is interested in the office priority areas identified. Example to address priority 1, prioritize funding for culturally specific community-based organizations and tribal organizations, including tribal government and tribal nonprofit organizations, as well as for technical assistance for these entities. Example to address priority area 2, prioritize applications that focus primarily on responding to non-intimate partner sexual assault, including sexual assault across the lifespan. This includes prevention, outreach, offender intervention, medical forensic care, civil legal assistance, and victim services. Note, applications proposing activities for either of the priority areas will be given special consideration. Information on how to address the OVW priority areas can be found on page 8 of the solicitation. Next slide. Funding restrictions. OVW does not fund activities that jeopardize victim safety, deter or prevent physical or emotional healing for victims, or allow offenders to escape responsibility for their actions. Applications that propose any such activities may receive a deduction in points during the review process, or may be eliminated from consideration. Please note that OVW will support survivor-centered alternative pathways to justice and non-criminal approaches to accountability that fall within the statutory scope of the program. Information on activities that compromise victim safety and recovery or undermine offender accountability may be found on the solicitation companion guide. Information on activities that compromise victim safety and recovery can be found on page 9 in the solicitation companion guide, located on the OVW website under Resources for Applicants. Out-of-scope activities. Applications including out-of-scope or unallowable activities may receive a deduction in points during the review process or may be removed from consideration. The solicitation lists specific activities that are outside the scope of the rural program on page 10 of the solicitation. These activities will not be supported by the rural program. Next slide. I will now turn over the presentation to Charlotte Turpin.
Thank you, Nakora. Hi, everyone. I am Charlotte Turpin, and we will now talk about the rural program eligibility. In this section, we will discuss eligible applicants, service area, required partnership, and legal assistance certification. Next slide. The rural program has several areas of eligibility to comply with. The first area I would like to discuss will be eligible applicants. The rural program can encompass a wide variety of applicants, including those listed on the screen. And ineligible applicants would include single persons applying for personal assistance, applicants outside of the United States or U.S. territories, or organizations that don't have demonstrated history of effective work in this field. Applications representing any of these types will be deemed ineligible and removed from the review process. For a definition of eligible entities, please refer to page 13 and 14 of the solicitation. I want to note that we have received questions in the past from potential healthcare centers, hospitals, colleges, or university applicants on whether or not they are eligible to apply for the rural grant. And the answer is yes, as long as you meet all the qualifying requirements in the solicitation. Next slide. Eligible service area. The rural statute within the Violence Against Women Act requires that funds are directed to victims residing in areas and communities that are rural eligible. We have provided instructions to guide you through the process of demonstrating that you or your proposed service area meets the eligibility requirement. Instructions to complete the documentation process can be found at this link that we will drop in the chat or on the rural solicitation under eligible service area on page 16. Regardless of whether an application is submitted for an entity from a rural state or a non-rural state, all applicants must target services in a rural area or rural community. I'll give you an example of that. Colorado is a designated rural state, but Denver is not a rural area or community. So therefore, Denver or the census tracts that make up Denver would not be an eligible service area under the rural grant, even though the state is rural. This will apply to rural and non-rural states. A list of rural states and definitions of rural areas and communities can be found on page 13 of the solicitation. Next slide. Pictured here, you will see what the required documentation looks like. As you go through the process, if you get documents that look different from these, then you have not followed the instructions correctly. The Rural Health Grant Eligibility Analyzer will confirm whether the county you propose to serve is completely rural, partially rural, or not rural. This document must be submitted as an attachment to your application, as well as the Excel document of the census tracts you propose to serve if the county is partially rural. The highlighted sections on the spreadsheet represent census tracts are rural eligible. You will need to scroll through the spreadsheet to find and then highlight all the census tracts that you propose to serve. Step-by-step instructions can be found by following the link on page 16. Next slide. Partnership eligibility requirements. You may include as many partners as you need to successfully implement your project, but at least one of them must be a victim service provider or the lead applicant. Applications must have one MOU partner on the project. Having no partner on the project will eliminate your application from consideration. A formal MOU must be signed and dated by all partners, and all applicants must include partners necessary to implement the proposed project. Partners in name only do not need to sign the MOU. Partners must be reasonably compensated for their role on the project. If their contribution on the project is in kind or cannot be compensated monetarily due to the nature of their work, then compensation can be in the form of OVW training and technical assistance. A letter of support can be submitted in lieu of the MOU by court applicants or court partners only. This will be discussed in more detail later in the presentation. Next slide. Legal assistance certification eligibility requirements. A written letter certifying that the applicant has expertise providing legal assistance or is partnering with an entity or person with expertise providing legal assistance and has or will complete training in connection with domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and related issues must be submitted with the application. A full description of legal assistance certification requirements can be found on page 15 and 16 of the solicitation. I would now turn it over to Aisha Battle.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Hello, everyone. I am Aisha Battle. Could we, thank you. Now let's talk about the application information. We will cover the types of applications, the grant award period, and budget caps. Then we will go over the application contents, and I will share with you some common application challenges that we have observed over the years. Next slide. There are two types of applicants, new and continuation. For continuation applicants, you should select on the SF 424 that you are a continuation applicant. Please note that if awarded, all awards will be made as new awards due to the transition to the Just Grants system. We, of course, know that you are a new applicant if you have never received funding under the rural program. You are also considered new if your rural program funding ended on or before March 8th of 2022. Next slide. For FY 2023, the grant award project period is 36 months, with the project period beginning October 1 of 2023. Continuation applications are limited to $750,000 for the entire 36 months. As shared earlier, the rural program has a large emphasis on sexual assault. Therefore, continuation applicants that apply to focus 75% or more of their activities on sexual assault may apply for up to $950,000. New applicants are limited to applying for $500,000 for the entire 36 months. If new applicants propose to focus 75% or more of their activities on sexual assault, they may apply for up to $700,000. Next slide. An application will be considered incomplete if any of the following components are missing: a proposal narrative, a budget detail worksheet and narrative, a memorandum of understanding and/or letter of support, and the rural eligibility documentation Charlotte discussed earlier in the presentation. Over the next few slides, I will go into more detail about the scored components of the application. Next slide. So the proposal narrative. The proposal narrative is worth 65 points and is comprised of the purpose of the proposal, the what will be done, and the who will implement sections. The project narrative can be no more than 20 pages. If you exceed the page limit, the additional pages will not be reviewed. Information in the proposal narrative should correspond with the specific section you are addressing. For example, the information asked about in the purpose of the proposal section should appear in that section of the narrative and not in the what will be done section. Please be sure to include headings and subheadings throughout to correspond with each section of the solicitation. Next slide. Now let's talk about the budget worksheet and narrative. For those of you all familiar with submitting budgets in Just Grants, we are excited that instead of completing the web-based budgets, you will attach your budget worksheet and budget narrative this year. All budgets should be for the 36-month project period. All budgets should include funds set aside for language access and accessibility. In addition, all budgets should include the required set aside of $10,000 for training and technical assistance for the 48 contiguous United States and $15,000 for the territories, Alaska, and Hawaii. Please remember that all activities detailed in the what will be done section should be included in the budget, as well as personnel and partners listed in the who will implement section. Next slide. I encourage you to review the memorandum of understanding section carefully to ensure that you are meeting all of the requirements. In the past, I have seen applications miss the cutoff score by a point because information was missing from the MOU. When preparing and submitting your MOU, please remember that the MOU should be one document. While you can have multiple signature pages, each signature page should have all signatories listed. A letter of support can be submitted by a court applicant or court project partner if the court is not allowed to sign an MOU. Applicants and project partners other than courts cannot submit a letter of support. Please take heed that you should be submitting a current MOU prepared to answer this solicitation. The MOU must be responsive to the solicitation requirements and include only those activities that are listed in the proposal narrative. Please also note that electronic signatures are allowed. Next slide. In the next couple of slides, we are going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to the documents our financial team, the Grants Financial Management Division, reviews. More specifically, we'll discuss some items GFMD has identified from prior years' applications that can help with expediting their review process. I'm going to highlight certain aspects of the pre-award risk assessment and provide you with a link to a detailed webinar on how to develop the budget that will be included in your application. First, we'll highlight the items identified in the summary data sheet, which is completed by all applicants and uploaded into Just Grants. The list of questions begin on page 20 and goes through page 21 of the solicitation under the heading Summary Data Sheet. Specifically, 2 items that GFMD would like for me to discuss with you are the single audit starred risk assessment questions, which assists GFMD during the pre-award risk assessment review for all applications. The pre-award risk assessment questions begin on page 21 of the solicitation. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions. Please note that each question has multiple parts. GFMD has noticed from prior years that applicants do not always fully answer all parts of the pre-award risk assessment questions, which in turn requires GFMD to reach out to the applicant and may delay funding decisions. Some of the most common issues encountered have been, for example, question number 2, where the applicant indicates that they do indeed have internal policies, they don't provide a brief list of topics covered in the policies and procedures. Or question 3, where some applicants fail to provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budgeted versus actual expenditures. These are just a few examples, but in general, please make sure you read each component under every question and provide a full and comprehensive response. Both the responses to the summary data sheet and the pre-award risk assessment questions must be uploaded in the section with your proposal narrative. Next slide. GFMD has shared these resources to support you in the development of your proposal, and in particular, your budget worksheet and narrative. There are links to trainings, as well as the uniform guidance and the DOJ financial guide. Please take a moment to capture this slide. Next slide. We wanted to share with you all some common application challenges we have observed applicants encounter that will hopefully help you have a smooth application development and submission process. Make sure you meet the solicitation requirements before spending valuable time completing the application. Check to ensure that you meet the eligibility requirements and that your partners meet the partnership eligibility requirement. The application process is a 2-step process. You must first register in grants.gov and SAMS before you can register in Just Grants. Even if you already have a universal entity identifier, please check to make sure your registration is up to date. This is why we suggest that you start this process early to mitigate problems before time of submission. Be sure to submit the correct rural eligibility documentation. And don't forget that the census data has been updated with 2020 information. Each partner must include a signature, title, and date on the MOU. If including multiple signature pages, please ensure that signature lines reflecting all signatories are on each page. Please know that the letter of support requires the same level of information as the MOU. Submit only one MOU for the project with all partners' signatures included. Ensure that you are following the formatting parameters included in the solicitation. And as stated before, please ensure your budget reflects the 36-month grant cycle and do not exceed the 20-page project narrative page limit. Next slide. Throughout this presentation, you have heard us reference the Solicitation Companion Guide, which is located on the OVW website, which you can see a screenshot of here. The guide and other sample documents such as a sample MOU, letter of support, letter of intent, sample budget detail worksheet, among other documents, are located on the OVW website under resources for applicants. This is also where a recording of this webinar will be housed for your reference. Next slide. Please take a moment and capture the contact information on this page. Nakora Gray is the point of contact for the rural solicitation. We have also included our Grants Financial Management Division's help desk contact information in case any questions arise for you about the budget. In addition, there are the grants.gov and Just Grant support contacts for issues around registration and submission. Next slide. Now I will open the floor for questions. Please type your questions in the chat box or raise your hand and we will answer as many as we can. Any questions not answered here can be emailed to the rural program mailbox that was listed on the contact information slide. If we have time after questions, Charlotte will provide a demonstration on obtaining your rural eligibility documentation.
Thank you so much, Aisha. All right, Cody, the questions are coming into the chat box. If you want, we could start with the questions that we were emailed. The first question that we were emailed was, in reading through the recently released solicitation, I was confused as to whether we need to have a partner if we were the lead applicant. I see under the required partnership section, it says that it must include a victim service provider as the lead applicant. The answer to that question is yes. At least one partner is required, whether the lead applicant is a victim service provider or not. The next question we received. In reviewing the priority areas, I understand that for priority area 1, we need a culturally specific partner. That is correct. You do need a culturally specific partner for area 1, priority area 1. I also understand that priority area 2, part 2 would require a partnership with the prosecutor's office. The answer to that question, as it states in the solicitation on page 9, partners can be law enforcement or prosecutors. The next question we received. However, the priority area number 2, part 1, I was unclear whether a partnership was needed. Our organization provides direct legal advocacy for victims of sexual assault, as well as training to prosecutors, advocates, and law enforcement. We also run the statewide SANE program. As the lead applicant, we would need to have a partnership if we are applying under this priority area. The answer to that question is yes. All partnerships for the rural program must include a victim service provider and at least one partner necessary to implement the project. The next question we received from Sandy Rogers, Dr. Sandy Rogers. She asked, we are a community mental health center that was established as a political subdivision and have 501c3 status. Does this qualify us to apply? Your answer, Dr. Rogers, is as an eligible applicant, yes, but you must also meet all the program requirements in the solicitation. The next question we received was from Catherine Robbins from hopehealing.org. Catherine asked, in reviewing the grant opportunity for OVW for the rural DV and dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking program, I learned that portions of the county we serve meet the rural definition according to OVW based on the census tract. Approximately 10 out of the 30 census tracts meet the rural definition provided in the application. We are currently in need of increasing staff for the shelter and programming for that area. but we are wondering if the funding can be used to serve the entire county, or if we have to track carefully to show that funding is serving survivors in a qualifying rural census tract. The answer, Ms. Robbins, yes. You will have to be able to carefully track the services provided to the qualifying census tracts in your county, since rural funding can only be used to serve rural areas or communities. You cannot use rural funding to serve the other 20 census tracts. Also, these services will be recorded on the semi-annual progress reports, which track where rural funds are spent. So it is important to be able to provide accurate information. The next question was submitted by Gail Kloss. Her question is, our grant ends on 9/30/2023, and we will be applying for a continuation of our grant project. A current grant partner will now be continuing to partner on this project, but wants to apply for the FY23 rural grant on their own. Will they, one, be eligible to apply? And the answer is yes, if they meet all the qualification requirements in the solicitation. Her second question, should they apply as a new or a continuation grantee? Because they were not the lead applicant on your award, they would apply as new. Her third and final question, do they need to disclose the OVW rural funds received as a part of the project they are currently partners with us on? And that answer is yes, as addressed in the summary data sheet. All right, so that answers the questions that was sent in via email, and we'd like to thank you all for sending those questions in via email. We'll now answer the questions that were provided in the chat. Cody, if you would like to just read out the questions as they are presented, and myself, Charlotte, Aisha, or Krista would answer those questions.
Okay, so first off, we have Debbie Barrett. Sorry if I mispronounce anyone's name. We have first, may we have a copy of these slides? It would be most helpful since page numbers are referenced that tied to page numbers.
Yes, as stated earlier, this presentation will be available for you on the OVW website. Lido should have this presentation available within 14 days.
Next, we have Mary Parsons. Does the budget amount on the SF424 have to match the budget submitted? We'd like to do grants.gov now, but haven't finalized our budget narrative.
Charlotte, would you like to answer that question, or Aisha?
Yes, the budget on the 424 should match the budget document that you submit. I don't, if you haven't started your budget yet, I'm not sure if you can update that in the system later or not. Krista, do you know?
Can update the 424?
Yes.
Yes, it can be updated. And I was going to say that this is a little bit of a sticking point. And when we get applications and their budget does not match the 424, we generally end up reaching out back to the applicant regarding getting that reconciled. We understand that sometimes you have an amount in mind, or maybe you're looking at the budget caps. They're in the solicitation. And then you go back and try to configure your budget, and you may be $1 less. It could be $10,000 less or more than what you provided on the 424. Those should match when you submit your application. However, we have, and we probably will again this year, if those amounts are not the same, we will reach out and to have that corrected.
Thank you.
Next question, we have Arthur Davis. Why do we have instructions for web-based budgets if we won't be using the web-based budget system? Is there a training for the new budget process?
Hi, Arthur. If funded, you will eventually have to use the web-based budget process. At this time, you simply have to attach a budget. If you go to the application, the resources for applicants section of the OVW website, you can find a sample budget as well as, and we can go back to the slide so that you can capture it again. Under the GFMD resources slide, the top link was the in-depth training to drafting a budget.
And just to clarify, because you will be attaching a budget to your application, GFMD is actually doing the heavy lifting this year, and they will create the web-based budget based on what you provide in your attached budget. So just so you know that it's just the manual budget. We call it manual because you do it yourself, as opposed to having things pre-populated and and added up. So we're hoping that this is going to make things easier for you all, because we had a lot of challenges with folks trying to submit web-based budgets last go around, and we were just trying to streamline that process for you with the attached budget.
Thanks, Krista and Aisha. Next up, we have Sienna St. John. In the solicitation, it is stated that since 2020 census data is delayed in completion, we should use the 2010 census data. Should we use the 2020 when that information is available, and 2010 if not available?
Yes, so if you reference the solicitation, certain parts of the census tract is working and certain parts aren't. So please use the 2010 census tract for this year's solicitation. Also, if we have enough time after this process, Charlotte will do a live demonstration on how you can operate the census tract.
Thanks, Nicole. Next, we have Barbara. We currently have a rural grant that ends in 2024. Are we eligible to apply?
Barbara, you aren't eligible to apply for this year's solicitation, grant funding.
Thanks, Nicole. Michelle Mahoney. Does everyone need to do the executive compensation disclosure?
Charlotte, are you familiar with the executive compensation disclosure?
Oh, hello, sorry. I think we might have lost Charlotte.
Yeah, I think
I believe, oh, sorry, Nicole, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying, I think she had a disconnection. I'm pinging her now.
Oh, no. Well, the disclosures have to be done by the lead applicant.
Thanks, Aisha. Anayali Rivera. Does the delivery of legal assistance certification letter apply to a nonprofit agency that does not have an in-house attorney?
Can you all hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now,
Yes.
Charlotte.
Sorry. Yes, the legal assistance certification letter has to be submitted if you are planning to provide legal services. If your organization is not a legal organization, you have to partner with someone that is able to do that and also submit the letter on their behalf.
Thank you, Charlotte. Valerie Williams. Number 3 purpose area ends with "and" prior to going into explaining number 4. Does that mean we have to do the number 4 with number 3?
No, all of the purpose areas are separate. You can do one or more, as many as you like, but you have to do at least one.
Thank you. Hesper Rose, thank you for hosting this session. Can you please tell us what the advantage or reason would be for submitting an LOI since it is optional, not required?
And the purpose of the letter of support is to give us an idea of how many applicants we have so that we can judge accordingly the number of peer reviewers we need for the applications.
Judy Chin, compensating survivors and people with lived experience. Would you please speak to this?
So she asked about compensating who? Live who? I'm sorry.
Compensating survivors and people with lived experience.
So I think I need more clarity. Is she asking to how to fund the victim, like victim needs or wants of the victims, or is she saying compensating them how?
Judy, if you could further, Judy Chen, if you could further explain in the chat, we'll come back to your question. If you could just clarify a little bit more, and then we'll come back to yours once we get. Ushia Smith, I requested a copy of one of last year's awards, but have not received a response.
Ashia, please email the rural mailbox so that we can get that to you or understand more of what it is you're looking for.
And I'll just add to that, if you're asking to see last year, well, yeah, just some clarification, because this could turn into be a FOIA request, which is a different step and process. So if you want to, circle back with us regarding your question, that way we can make sure we direct you appropriately.
Joanna Heights, is there a list of current grantees available?
Yes. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Yes, on the OVW website, there is a list of previous grants and grantees listing on our website.
And all those links I provided also in the chat, just in case you weren't able to capture the screenshot. So you'll be able to copy and paste those and use those links as well. Next, we have Michelle Mahoney. For Alaska's congressional district, is it okay to put AKALL or AII?
When she says, is it okay to put it like where on the application or abbreviated throughout the narrative, or what exactly is she wanting to do with those abbreviations?
Michelle,
Or acronyms?
I'm sorry. Michelle Mahoney, could you clarify a little bit more?
Oh, SF424. She wants to put it on SF424.
Oh.
I suggest you spelling it all the way out, because we don't always know the exact name of your organization. You could probably put it in parentheses after you spell it out if you have the space, but I suggest using the full name of your organization.
Thank you, Cora. Catherine Robbins, approximately 10 of the 30 census tracts for our county meet the rural definition provided in the application. We are currently in need of increasing staff for the shelter and programming for the area, but we are wondering, just a sec so I can throw it out, if the funding can be used to serve the entire county, or if we have to track carefully to show that the funding is only serving survivors in qualifying rural census tract.
Hi, Catherine. We received your email request. I responded a little bit earlier. I'll provide the answer again. So yes, you will have to be able to carefully track the services provided to the qualifying census tracts in your county, since rural funding can only be used to serve rural areas or communities. You cannot use rural funding to serve the other 20 census tracts. Also, these services will be recorded on your semi-annual progress reports, which track where the rural funds are spent. So it's important to be able to provide accurate information. Yes, again, I reiterate, you'll only be able to fund the 10 areas that are in your rural census tract.
Christy Sobolik, hello, we are a continuation applicant. We are wondering if we can have a formal partnership and MOU agreement with another currently funded OVW rural grant applicant who is also reapplying. Our program provides legal services to rural DV and SA victims, and our proposed partner provides non-legal supportive services for rural DV and SA victims.
Yes, you can apply as a partner or an existing grantee. You just cannot duplicate services. And if you need further clarification on exactly what it is you're doing, please contact us via the rural mailbox and provide more information.
And just to follow up on what Charlotte said, I know I see a lot of questions coming through, which is super exciting. We are so thrilled with your interest in the program. but a lot of the questions are very specific to your jurisdictions. And so I think for those questions, such as the one just asked, so that we can get you the most thorough answer and make sure we're speaking to your specific kind of community, please email the rural mailbox that was provided, and we can put it in the chat again with your questions so we can make sure that we're honing in on what applies to your community.
Thanks,
And I
Aisha.
think you're welcome. And I guess for the sake of, well, how much time do we have left? I actually think we have time. So next question, Cody.
So we have Arthur Davis. He wants to know, can you enable chat text saving? This is due to prevent participants from saving chat. Setting being enabled, this setting must be deselected in order to allow participants to have the ability to copy or save chats sent within a Zoom meeting.
Lidos would be more feasible to answer this question if the candidates, if the applicants will be able to have access to the chat. I know this entire webinar will be posted, so the questions are being read and repeated and answered so that you could reference them later. But I don't, Jonathan or Michelle, if someone can answer if they'll have access to the live chat box later, the verbiage in it.
We can send that file to you, and if you'd like that posted, we'll give you that option. But yes, we can send that file to you.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question, we have Christy Soblik. Can you describe what a partner in name only is?
Yes. A partner in name only is a partner that doesn't really have a heavy role in your grant project. Is some folks partner with a lot of people in the community because they work with your organizations a lot, but don't really have a role in the grant project. So if they don't have a role in the grant project, then they don't need to sign your MOU.
Thank you, Charlotte. Jennifer Combs, can funds be used for SANES that are partially funded through another project? We have existing MOUs with our local SART. Can that be used?
I think that question requires a little more in-depth information. If you could give us more information about that, or send us an email to the rural mailbox, and we can talk about that specifically.
Thank you, Charlotte. Stacy Umhay, it appears that our MOU partner will be considered a sub-grantee. Can you talk a bit about what our responsibilities will be in terms of administrating funds to an MOU partner who is considered a sub-guarantee? Thanks.
Well, all of your MOU partners should have some role in implementing your project. So the fact that it's a sub-grantee is not an issue. The roles and responsibilities that your MOU partner provides on your project, I'm trying to would just be fairly compensated. I don't know if that answers your question. If you could elaborate on what you're looking for, or send us an email in the rural mailbox, and we can go into that further. But yes, just compensate all your partners based on what it is they're providing, what service you're providing. Your
And
project.
if I can just add to that, Charlotte, because the question says, what is your responsibilities in terms of administering funds to an MOU partner? That should be laid out in your budget, and your MOU partner that signs the MOU is also saying that they've reviewed the budget and they're in agreement to how the funds would be administrated to them if they are going to be a partner that receives funds under the project.
Thank you, Krista and Charlotte. Val Ross, In solicitation announcement, it states that applicants are encouraged to use a spreadsheet for the budget attachments. Does this mean that an applicant agency can create the application budget on an Excel document they have created and submit this Excel document as the budget and narrative?
Yes, so you can use an Excel spreadsheet. Remember that your budget will later be computed to a web-based budget. So you're attaching your budget as a document, as an attachment. So it can be on an Excel spreadsheet, and you still will need to do your budget narrative.
Thank you, Nakora. Victoria Yeager. We will have sexual assault advocates traveling a great deal to meet with victims and survivors, attend meetings, host trainings, etc. Historically, we reimburse staff for mileage if they use their own vehicle. We recently noticed that for some staff, using a university or organization as part of a state university owned lease vehicle is most cost effective. Are we able to budget the lease payments instead of the mileage for this grant?
I don't believe you can budget the lease payment for a already leased car. You are able to lease a car for the project, and it would be for the 3-year grant period.
Thank you, Charlotte. Carla Cara. For rural eligibility for partial rural areas, is there a minimum number in the census tract that must be met before being able to serve this specific census tract area? Can it be only 10 that is enough to serve the specific area? Or must it be a certain percentage of the entire census tract?
The census tract, I'm assuming you're talking about the number of people in the census tract. If that's the case, then the number of rural folks that, as long as the number of rural folks is higher than the number of urban folks, then that census tract is eligible. There's no specific number of people living in the census tract itself. And if you need more clarification, you might be able to get that when I do the demonstration. It might be helpful. Otherwise, just give us a call or send us an email and we can look into it further for you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Connie Huffman. Can you be specific on the process of applying in grants.gov and just grants? Do we need to create an application on the dashboard in grants.gov? Will those two forms transfer over to just grants?
I am not that familiar with just grants. I'm sorry, grants.gov. So someone else may jump in if I don't get all the information, but I do know that you have to complete the application for the 424 and the SSLLL in grants.gov and submit it in grants.gov before you're able to even access just grants to start your application. Anyone else want to add anything?
I would start there, Charlotte. I guess my question is further detail needed by who asked that question?
Yeah, if so, you can contact us and we can go into it further for you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank
Meredith
you.
Rowley. Southeastern Ohio legal services cover 30 counties, almost all rural. Regarding letters of support, we will need one. Will we need one from court in each county?
If you plan to serve them all, if they're not able to sign an MOU, then yes.
Thank you, Charlotte. Molly Meridian. We are the service provider in our area. We are a nonprofit directly serving survivors. Who will we need as a partner for the MOU?
That is dependent on the project that you propose and what partnership is needed in order to successfully implement that project. And I guess I would just open it to the team to expound.
Yes, Aisha, that is correct. You have to have at least one partner on this project. So whoever you feel would be best to help implement the project, you would want to be an MOU partner.
And if I may, I want to, we're finished with that question. I want to go back to the previous question regarding the Ohio Legal Services. Is that okay? Just want to check with folks. Okay. So I'm just reading the question, and regarding Ohio Legal Services covers 30 counties. And the question is, regarding letters of support, will we need one from a county, a court in each county? So if the court is a partnership in your project, then yes. So if you're going to have 30 courts that are going to be a part of this project, but if you're just talking about Ohio Legal Services, that's their service areas, 30 counties. You wouldn't need to have a letter of support from all 30 counties if that's their service area. But if there is going to be a court partner on the project, then you would need a letter of support from each court. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Krista. Joanna Heights. The RFP states that 75% of the total amount of funding made available for this program must be allocated to eligible entities located in rural states. Does this mean that only 10 to 15 awards will be made to organizations outside of this category? Applicants serving rural areas and non-rural states?
No. The breakdown of the of funds available would be 75% of the funds towards rural states, but it doesn't mean that there's only going to be 10 or 15 awards for non-rural states. It just depends on how the funding breaks down. There could be more, there could be less. Just depends on how the funding breaks down.
Thank you, Charlotte. Jean, could you clarify the definition of non-intimate partner sexual assault as indicated on page 9 of the solicitation?
Yeah, so non-intimate sexual assault is a person that you're not in an intimate relationship. So it's like, you know how you have intimate partner violence, so that there's sexual assault in intimate partner relationships, and then there's non-intimate partner sexual assault. So it's an assault committed by someone that you're not in an intimate relationship with.
Thank you, Nakora. I guess I'm wondering, because I think that was I think you nailed it, but I guess my question is, were you asking, I guess, about some additional things that can fall under non-intimate partner sexual assault, like maybe some kind of cyber abuse or something?
Yeah, a little more clarity would help in, defining which,
Thank you, Nakora and Aisha. Jean, if you could clarify just a bit more in the chat. If not, you can also email us at the rural mailbox. Next, we have Catherine Robbins. Can the client zip code of origin be used to match them to the qualifying rural census tracts?
No, we have the instructions to follow to find your eligible census tracts, and it does not include zip codes of origin.
Thank you, Charlotte. William Hellman. Looks like the SAM number has been replaced with a UEI number and a cage number. Is that good to submit in the letter of intent?
So you don't, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Nakora. You do not have to include that in the letter of intent. Of course you can. We will not, there is no incentive about that. We'll be able to recognize you, but the letter of intent, is, someone said earlier, is really for us to gauge what our needs will be and then reviewing your applications.
Thank you, Asia. Andrea Sosbo.
Also, I'm sorry, if we can go back, I wanted to clarify that the SAM number hasn't replaced the UEI. You still need to do the SAM registration and a UEI. You're used to the DUNS. We've done, the UEI is instead of the DUNS number, you'll have a UEI, but SAM does not replace the UEI.
Thank you, Nicora. Andrea Sosbo, is there a way for the PowerPoint to be emailed this week to help us prepare? I understand the recording of the webinar will be uploaded in 14 days. Thank you for your help.
If you want a copy of the webinar, the presentation, like the actual PowerPoint slides, we can PDF them. Please email the rural mailbox for a copy of those slides, and then we can email it back to you.
Anula Rivera, if we do not receive the full amount of $750,000, do we still need the audit response letter, or will we just put that information in the data summary sheet?
I think that the information, if you should just be on the data summary sheet. If you don't, yeah.
Thank you, Charlotte. Next up, Melody. We are registered in sam.gov and grants.gov. Where do we go to obtain a justgrants.gov account?
So you would just go to the Just Grants system and create your account there. The SAMS.gov and grants.gov is just the first step of the application process. You still need to register and create an account with Just Grants system.
Thank you, Nicora. Joanna, is the solicitation released every year asking regarding continuation of applications?
Yes, the solicitation is released annually. Yeah.
Carol, if we are a victim service program providing sexual assault services in rural communities, who is the required MOU partner?
There isn't a required MOU partner. You just must partner with someone that's a victim service provider. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I was reading to make sure I answered it. If we are a victim service program providing sexual assault, yeah, you would just need to partner with someone who can provide sexual assault services. And that partner could be your partner of choice. It doesn't have to be someone we specify for your program.
Just to elaborate on that, because I know we got the question earlier today as well. When thinking about your proposal and thinking about not just you writing your proposal, but like who is truly needed to implement the project, and think about, because peer reviewers are going to read this, who in reading this application will be like, oh, well, there are people missing to actually implement this project, or they have a well-rounded group of people, whether it be 2 or more. However, it's only required a lead and a required partner, but think more broadly about who are the necessary parties to help you implement this project. And those should be the people you're partnering with.
Thank you, Aisha. Christy, what is legal service certification document that was referenced in a prior question?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. There is a sample of the legal certification letter on the OVW website and the materials for grantees or applicants. So you can find the letter there.
Thank you, Charlotte. Lizzie, for priority area 2, would funding be considered if 75% were for sexual violence activities with a priorities of services for non-intimate partner, so it is a part of the 75%, or must the full 75% be only for non-intimate partner sexual violence?
I think it could be for, as long as 75% of your project is towards sexual assault. If part of it is for non-intimate violence, that's fine.
Thank you, Charlotte, because I see that that question was asked a few times in the chat. And so just to reiterate what Charlotte said, you can support both intimate partner and non-intimate partner sexual assault.
And I'll
Which
add
is-
to that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no.
I'll add to that the rural program also has a sexual assault component. So this 75% was directed to the OVW office priority, which is also sexual assault. So you're not you don't have to specifically stay with non-intimate violence, sexual assault, as long as 75% or more of your whole project is sexual assault.
Thank you, Charlotte. Aisha. Next question is from Melody. Do all grantees have to provide legal services or have a partnership with an agency that does?
No.
This is another question that was asked a few times in the chat. Legal services is not required. Now, if you want to provide civil legal services, there is a certification you will need to complete, but it is by no means mandated as part of the program. It is just there is a certification if that is an activity you would like to do.
Thank you, Aisha. Mary, did I understand the semi-annual progress report for this grant will require us to report by victim which census tract that victim lives in? Or what did you mean by reporting on the census tract receiving services?
I just meant that the rural funding is tracked on the semi-annual progress report. So if you're providing services, that's the reason why you are not, well, not the reason, but that's why you cannot provide services in non-rural census tracts, because the rural program only provides services to rural areas and communities. And that information will be tracked on the semi-annual progress reports when you report your activities, if you get a grant award.
Thank you, Charlotte. Meryl has two questions. First is, my team has never submitted a grant through Just Grants. Is there a resource that provides formatting and samples of what the grant package should look like?
Sure, if you look into the solicitation under the submissions section, as well as the how to apply, you can see like formatting stuff and technical assistance and how everything should be formally set up within a solicitation. It explains in 2 or 3 different sections how to set up your application and what should be included in your application, and formatting for like your budget, your project narrative and things of that nature, and your MOUs and stuff. Charlotte mentioned earlier about finding on the website where you could find like a sample legal certification letter and things of that nature.
Second question was, does fairly compensated of MOU partners mean monetarily compensated?
So
It
you
does
don't.
not.
Oh, okay. There,
Sorry, Decorah, go ahead.
No, you go, Charlotte. I'm sorry.
It does not mean that your MOU partners have to be compensated monetarily, because some partners will not be able to if they are providing the service anyway. You wouldn't compensate them for providing a service that they're already providing on your grant. So in that case, you could, if there's no other compensation that you have to provide them, you can provide them with OVW technical assistance, and that would work for us. And while we're talking about OVW technical assistance, there is that $10,000 or $15,000 amount, that is intended to be shared with your partners. So whether they are monetarily compensated or not, you should share that OVW technical assistance money with your grant partners.
Thank you, Charlotte. Stacy has a similar question. I'm mostly wondering about monitoring responsibilities for MOU partners, which you touched on.
Well, hopefully that answered your question too, Stacy. If it did not, please clarify your question or specify something that you might be interested in knowing.
Caroline, how many projects will be funded through this program?
Well, that's hard to say, depending on the number of applications we get in, a number of applications that make it through the review process and are eligible for funding. We hope to have at least or up to 55 awards, which I believe we noted in the solicitation, but it just depends.
Thank you, Charlotte. Christy, is it a problem if we are an unfunded MOU partner on another rural grant and also a lead applicant on our rural grant?
No, that's not a problem.
Thank you, Charlotte. Ariel, when you say applicants can receive more funding if the services are 75% or more focused on sexual assault, do you mean 75% of the services in the specific project or 75% of the service provided by the applicant organization as a whole through all programs?
75% of your rural grant program application activities.
Thank you, Charlotte. Emily, just to clarify, if a census tract has 500 people designated as urban and 700 designated as rural, then can it be considered rural?
Yes.
Connie, as a continuation grant applicant, do we change goals and objectives to add in a new purpose area or just add them to the previous ones?
Could you repeat that, Cody?
Yeah, of course. As a continuation grant applicant, do we change goals and objectives to add in a new purpose area or just add them to the previous ones?
I guess that is your choice to whether you apply to continue your current project, or you apply to expand it, or you apply to pivot and do a new project.
Right. I'll add that the purpose areas are not all required. You don't have to do all 4. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3 or 4, but whatever your continuation project is, if that 4th and new purpose area does not apply to that, then you don't have to include it.
Connie also asked, can we budget in legal fees such as filing fees, document fees without partnering with an attorney as talked about on page 16?
I think I'm kind of confused with this question because what legal services would the organization be providing if they're not partnering with a legal services? So like what legal fees would the victim acquire if the attorney isn't filing on their behalf? I guess I'm saying like who's filing the legal stuff if you're not partnering with an attorney or you don't have an attorney on staff?
This could be a situation where you have maybe you have an advocate or a legal advocate who's filing, assisting with the filing. So the filing fees would be the fees that are paid to the court. And if there's document fees for filing. So assuming that, I believe the answer would be yes, that you can budget for that. But as Nakora said, if it's a legal process that's being handled by the victim service provider, they should be partnering with an attorney to provide those services.
Right, because an advocate usually can help with like protective orders and stuff, but you would want legal counsel to assist you with actual legal filing and stuff.
Connie also asked, if we did a podcast to reach more of our undeserved population, would every podcast need to be approved to OVW before we can publish it if we are budgeting equipment for the podcast?
If you're using time on the grant award to record the podcast, then, or funds from the grant funds, are you proposing to use funds to disseminate the podcast? Then yes, you would need OVW approval of the podcast. Each of them.
Thank you, Aisha.
And I would
Gee.
assume that if you're budgeting the equipment under your grant, a rural grant project, that the podcast would be for this project. And yes, you would have to get it approved.
Thank you, Charlotte. Jean, non-intimate partner. So that would not be a dating partner or current spouse.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean you won't be able to have a project that includes intimate partner.
Right, right.
So you could include, for instance, like the dating partner as well as stranger rate, right?
Thank you, Tim. Maria, can you explain more what a UIE is? And I need the email for the PDF of this webinar.
The UEI is a replacement for the DUNS number. That they changed that over last year. And so now instead of applying for a DUNS number, you would apply for a UEI. And it is necessary before you can submit your application.
Also, I'll add that this number is provided for any organization that's doing business with the federal government.
We can put the OVW rural mailbox email in the chat once we get through the questions, or if somebody can do that while we're going through the questions, whichever works best.
Yeah,
Oh,
Aisha
should
added
I-
it,
Oh,
so
she already put it. Perfect. Arthur, to qualify for this priority area, applicants must partner with culturally specific community-based organizations or programs and include project activities that specifically engage, promote, and serve the needs of undeserved culturally specific communities. If we provide Spanish language legal services that includes culturally specific attorneys and or paralegals, does that qualify?
If they are partners, that could qualify.
I want to note that I see some people with raised hands, and I'm not sure if the raising of hands corresponds to who asked the question, if they're trying to provide more clarity.
That could be because it is Arthur. You want to open your mic, Arthur, and clarify?
Is there a way to unmute him?
Lighthouse would have to give them that permission.
Yes, one moment, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, you are able to unmute yourself.
Oh, great. Thank you. So our organization, I apologize if there's an echo. Our organization provides legal services. So we have attorneys and paralegals for the general population, but also we have culturally specific Spanish language attorneys and or paralegals. Would we qualify, or are you looking for the priority area for culturally specific? Are you looking for like an organization that only serves one specific priority population?
I think we're looking for organizations that can provide, if you don't already serve underserved culturally specific communities, for you to partner with an organization in the community that does serve those folks to give you some insight in how services are being provided and what their needs are. And I don't know if just providing services, legal services in a different language qualifies for that.
Yeah, I guess the question is whether you're looking for like specific culturally specific agencies, like an agency that only serves Latino population, for example, or if we provide Latino attorneys, would that, along with our other services, would that qualify us as that priority?
Are you
So,
community? Are you legal services organization?
Yes.
Okay, that helps. Then yes, definitely having legal attorneys, or I'm sorry, culturally specific attorneys for those folks you'll be serving would be good. But you should probably also have a victim service provider as a partner, and a culturally specific victim service provider might be a good partner to have. But you can have more than one, so you can have a culturally specific victim service provider and another victim service provider as a partner. But you want to have someone that can help you understand the needs of the culturally specific population that you're going to be serving.
Thank you.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what you said a little bit, Charlotte. I know in the solicitation, it also says, organization and programs. And so I think if Arthur, we had more information, and this may be needed to do, I guess maybe over email or offline, about your, I know you said you had culturally specific attorneys. I would say, I think reflect on, is it a program? Is it like is it a culture specific program within your organization that you can write up? Or do you have people that are just culturally responsive and trained on your staff and figuring out where you fit in there? And that will tell you if you need to partner with another culture specific organization or if you could be that program.
Thank you.
Also, before we move on, I just want to go back to Maria's question regarding the UEI. I think there's some confusion, and maybe just take a moment just to explain. So we've been talking about making sure you register at sam.gov, make sure your registration is up to date. In registering for SAMS, you will obtain your UEI number. And this basically is to confirm your entity's electronic business point of contact. And that eBiz POC is what you're going to be using to complete your registration with grants.gov and moving on to Just Grants. So they're all tied together. So you register at SAMS, you have your UEI number, and you make sure your registration is still good if you registered in previous years, to make sure your UEI number is still active. It could be deactivated, it could be dead for not used, for a lack of registration or updated registration. So just to be clear that you get your UEI number through the SAM registration process.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Krista. Next question we have, if New Mexico Legal Aid is on our MOU, would we put them on our letter of assistance certification letter, being that we refer to them and they assist our clients with legal services?
Yes, they would have to. Well, when you see the letter itself, it will provide you with the information that's needed. And if you're providing information for the legal aid, then yes, their information, they would have to be verifying that they qualify for all of the things listed in the letter.
same person that asked the question just raised their hand. I don't know if they want to, if they have some clarification.
Michelle, if you could unmute Ms. Rivera.
All of the participants are actually able to unmute themselves.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead with your question. Aniela, Angeli, I'm sure I'm messing up your name here.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted more clarification because I've heard other organizations talk about they pay like for the legal services and stuff, but legal aid does majority of it for free. So I was just wanting some clarification if they would go on this portion. And then I was reading on that sample letter about immigration proceedings. They don't really, it's just a specific, they provide more legal assistance for restraining orders. Some might help with the divorce process or the child custody stuff, but it's not like on section A of the sample letter of the assistant certification.
Right, so you would tailor the letter to reflect the services that will be provided. If there are areas where this will not be addressed, you can basically just state that we're not requesting, or who we're partnering is not doing work in that area. So if they're not doing the immigration piece, you just state that that's not what we're partnering with them to do, and that's not in their area of profession.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Of course. Thank you, Krista. Meryl's question. I'm a bit confused. Does this program require 75% of services by the proposed program support sexual assault?
No.
The rural program has a sexual assault piece. You don't have to provide 75%, only if that is what your project is doing. And the OVW office priority is where, when you're offering services to assist non-intimate partner violence, that you would be able to increase the funding request. But for the rural program, it doesn't matter how much sexual assault services you provide, you can still provide sexual assault services.
And just to tag on to that, so basically, if you are holding yourself out as a sexual assault service provider, that's what you do, then your project activities that you're proposing should align with at least 75% of what you are proposing to do is aligned with providing sexual assault services, resources, that sort of thing. So I just want to make sure that's clear. But if you're not holding yourself out as a sexual assault provider, but you're going to be providing services either through a partnership or through, with your intake, and you're realizing that folks that are coming in are sexual assault survivors and you're providing assistance, then it doesn't have to meet that 75%. But if you're holding yourself out as a sexual assault service provider, then their activities that you propose for funding on the grant application should be at least 75%.
Thank you, Krista and Charlotte. Greg, does legal advocacy such as court accompaniment and help in filling out a protective orders fall under the definition of legal services? I see us qualifying in the certification.
No, legal advocacy is not legal services. It's not going through an attorney, or services are not being provided by an attorney.
So therefore, the legal certification wouldn't be required here.
Right.
Right.
Greg also has a second question on top. If MOU partners are there to solidify their responsibility to allow and support us in providing training to their staff and clarifying their responsibilities to refer clients and our responsibilities to refer clients when appropriate, is there compensation scenarios that would work in this case?
Greg, I guess anything related to the budget really has to be determined between you, your organization, and the project partners and what you feel is suitable. Now, while you can provide, I guess, they can provide their time in kind, but you should still detail that they are providing that if that is what they choose, as well as that should be noted that everyone has reviewed and approved of the budget. And so that really is up to you and your partners on what you all settle on.
Hey, Cody, for the sake of time, we have one more question, and then so that Charlotte can go through a live demonstration of the eligibility census tract process. We have one more question, and then Charlotte, you can start your live demonstration.
Last question is by Zoe. In relation to assistance in immigration matters, would funding be allowed to support forensic examines related to asylum applications?
So I guess we're gonna need to know more about the forensic exams.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering too, what type of forensic exam? Is it for same sexual assault situations or intimate partner? What type of exam are you?
Same.
Same, okay.
That should be allowable.
Yeah,
Right. So even in immigration matters, victims of sexual assault would qualify as, clientele that should be provided services that could be supported by the funds of the grant.
That concludes the last question.
okay. Charlotte, if you would like to share your screen so that you can start your live demonstration.
Okay.
Charlotte, your live demonstration, are you going to be doing the Stark County as the example?
Yes, I can.
Well, I was, if Nakora, if you're not familiar with this and you want me to go through it, since you'll have to do the thing, I can bring it up and kind of do the live demonstration since I've done it before.
Okay, perfect, Cody. I'll stop sharing so you can.
So the first thing you'll do is you're going to select your state, or you're going to move select by state and county, not by address. And then you'll select your state, in which case we're going to do Ohio. And then you will scroll down and select the county, which we're going to do Stark. And search. So this page is what you're going to submit it with your application. And you'll see it says, yes, some parts of this county are eligible for rural health grant. That is one of the selections that you will get. Sometimes you will get, yes, all of this county is rural, and some will say, no, none of the county is rural, in which case the no's you won't be able to serve, but the yes, if you get a yes, all of the county is rural, that's the only document you'll need to submit. If you get a yes, some parts of the county is rural, then you have to go to the census data link to do your census tracts. So this is one of the pages you'll submit for some parts of the county is rural. And if we can go now to the census data link.
Oh, that one up just a moment. I will stop sharing this for a moment and open up the other link. Okay, everybody see my screen?
Okay, so the first thing you'll do is go to Advanced Search. Click on Advanced Search. And then Geography. And then Tract in the box, Census Tract, that box. And then you will select your state. We're looking for Ohio. And then let's see. Stark County, correct. And then you're going to select all census tracts within Stark County. Then you'll move down to the bottom and click search. And at the top, oh, that doesn't look right.
There was one more step, Charlotte.
Was there?
Yes.
Did you click all census tracts within Stark
Yeah.
County?
Yes, but there you have to type in the search bar.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I did
Okay.
skip that. Urban and rural.
Back up really fast.
Urban and rural. Then click search. And that top one, H2, urban and rural, is the one you want to click on. Are we there? Yeah.
Yep.
And this is going to show the census tracts with all the urban and rural census tracts in that county. Then you want to print, click print. It should be up in that box. It's not there. And Excel, export to Excel, and that will create an Excel document. You open that document.
Are you guys able to see the Excel spreadsheet?
I can't see it.
No.
Let me. Oh no, momentum. Go here. We will go here.
There we go. Once you open up your Excel spreadsheet, you want to click on data at the bottom, and that's where you'll see all of your census tracts. And what you'll do is you'll scroll across the page, because it can be a very long page, and any of the rural numbers, there's where you see totals, urban is at the top and rural is next to the bottom. So when the rural numbers are higher than the urban numbers, that census tract would be eligible as a rural census tract. So you have to scroll through and find them. And once you find them, you will highlight them. So and that's if you're serving the whole county. If you're serving a specific area, then you would need to check your specific area to see if the census tract is eligible. And this one, 7112.02 is a rural, because there's 1,133 rural population and 557 in the urban population. So you would select that and then highlight it and just go through and select all the ones that you will be serving, and save that document and attach it with your other document that says your county is partially rural. And that's it. But these are the documents that you have to submit. No other documents, no substitutes, no different things. These two documents, the Excel sheet with the highlighted census tracts and the sheet from the HRSA site that says your county is either all rural, partially rural, or if it's not rural, then you just won't be able to serve it. You don't have to submit anything. And that's it. Anybody have any questions? You're on mute, Aisha.
Oh, sorry, Charlotte, I see a question in the chat box. Arthur said, I noticed it said 2017 on the demo. Do we select 2010 instead?
No, I think this was just created. This document was just created then.
Okay.
The census site, the website is already updated. And I believe the rural states were updated with the census information, the 2020 census information, but the 2010, the way you search for your census tract is from 2010, but it is still the same. It hasn't changed.
We have another question from Jean. Is it okay to put all these printed screenshots into one document if we are serving 5 counties?
Yes, it is.
Cody, if you want, you can put the PowerPoint up so we can close it out.
Well, there's a few more questions. Nicora, sorry, I know we only have a couple of minutes, but I think we can answer them quickly. If the county is all rural, do we still need a tract?
No, you don't need a tract. If your HRSA sheet, the first sheet that you print out, if it says your county is all rural, you don't need to submit the tracts, just the form that says it's all rural.
Mm-hmm. And then someone said, is the census data required if the county agency is serving defined as all rural?
I'm sorry?
And is the census data required if the county the agency is serving is defined as all rural? Val, I think our confusion is what you mean by defined as all rural.
If the service area is rural, you still have to go through this process so that you can show that the service area is rural.
Thank you,
And
Charlotte.
and you have to submit the documents.
I think that was what the question was. So thank you, Charlotte. And then lastly, Connie asked, do we have to show all 3 pages of the census or just the first page that shows rural eligibility?
The first page that shows rural eligibility, if the whole county is rural, that's all you have to submit. If the whole county says partially rural, then you have to go through and do the census tract step and highlight all the census tracts you will be serving.
Thank you all we are so excited about all of your questions. I'm glad we were able to get to all of them, but I guess, Cody, you can proceed to the next slide. So we just wanted
answer to that last question is yes.
Good eyes, Charlotte.
Rural.
The
And
last question, oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, just to read it out loud, should we be including both the page that says partially rural and the census tract, or just the latter? And Charlotte said both pages.
Both pages.
Yes. And so thank you all so much for viewing the OVW FY 2023 Rural Program Pre-Application Webinar. We wish you all good luck during the application process, and please email any additional questions you have to the rural mailbox.